Hello. Good evening, all of you. Do you hear me? Hello.
Good
Can
evening.
you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So hope I'm audible to all of you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So we have 9 students. Right. So let's start the work then. Now already I sent the lecture note of this discussion to during the previous session. I sent it to the chat box. So hope everyone has the note by now with you all. Do you have the note? Which I sent to you during the previous session. Okay. I don't think there are new students available here. Everybody must have come to the previous lecture, right? So all of you, I suppose, have the lecture material. Then I will move on to the next discussion. Actually, there was an interruption during the latter part of the previous session, right? I had a power issue. And now today, therefore, I would be, of course, just to go back a little bit, right? Yeah, yes. I was discussing, actually, I'm playing these slides for you to remember what I have been discussing during the previous session, okay? Previously, I had been talking about, of course, these areas. Right. Now, in this module, there are several different areas to be discussed as I was showing to you last week, right? Then I started the discussion on the nature of language and linguistics. That's the first topic. Under that, we need to talk about the nature of human language and the nature of grammar and the third main topic, linguistics and the components of language. So actually, I was halfway through the first topic, the nature of human language. So there I was discussing about the fundamental beliefs about language and something about linguistic science. Okay, there we were talking about the 3 types of linguistic science in detail with some examples and some activities, right? So then now as you receive the recordings also, I don't think I should discuss this previously discussed part again. So I would move on to the third sub area, that is the rule govern nature of language today at the start of the lecture. Okay, right. So now let me go down to the topic. Right. The rule govern nature of language. Now here, what are we going to discuss actually? What type of a thing are we going to look at? When you read the topic, you would understand. Here we talk about the rule govern nature. That means any language, okay? We do not limit our discussion to a particular language like Sinhala or Tamil or English. We are talking about languages in common, right? So any language is rule governed by nature. What do you understand by this? So simply, we can say rule governed nature means there are rules to follow in any language at every level. Okay, at every level of any language, there are rules to follow. Everything is interconnected by rules. That's the idea. Rule govern nature. So we have some points talking about this to consider. Language science occur in a system. Now, other way of telling the rule govern nature is this system. Now, you know already, when we think about the characteristics or properties of language, one important property is that language is a system. Okay, whatever language functions like a system. System means, now in Sinhala, you have a word for that, paddhatiya, right? What do you mean by a system? You have an idea here within brackets down here. So meanwhile, check your notes as well. Okay. System is collection of smaller units that function in connection to one another. Small units are there, several different small units are there. And the special thing is these small units function in connection to one another. There are interconnections or interrelationships among the units. Each unit can function on its own. At the same time, each unit functions in relation to the other units as well. So this is the nature of any system, right? So then, when we say language signs occur in a system, means language is a system, means there are some small units within the language. Of course, I was talking about these during the previous session, right? Any language has, of course, any language is composed of different units, right? Several different units like sounds and we can say components, right? Units means components. Sounds form one component and words form another component. Sentences form yet another component and meaning is yet another component. So there are several different components or units. And we know usually language, any language functions with the help or with the interconnections of all these components. Okay? We can't talk about using words without talking about combination of sounds. And we can't form sentences without words. And none of these things will be useful if they don't have meaning. Okay? So every component is interconnected and is equally important for the function of language. That is why we say language signs. So these signs can be oral signs, that means sounds, or written signs, that means letters. They occur in a system. Everything is interconnected. Right? So these smaller units are organized on certain principles, or we say rules. Now, simply we say every component or every unit is interconnected, but on which basis? On which basis? There are rules. Rules are the combining factor, right? Therefore, we say language is rule governed. I think you got some idea about that. And just to tell a little bit more about this rule governed nature, we are discussing it anyway, right? Further, if you want to be a little bit clearer about these components, different components at the sound level, we say phonetics and phonology, there we are talking about the sound level, right? So there are rules to follow. According to, we call them phonological rules. So according to the phonological rules, we combine sounds. For example, the word pen. There are three sounds, a, and n. Consonant, vowel, consonant. And what if I combine these three sounds in another way? Then you will not get the meaning of pen, right? You will understand what I mean only if I combine the three sounds like what we do now. Like this. This is one sound. And this is another sound. Right? And this is the third sound. This is na, right? Not her. Okay. A, and pen. This combination is correct. But if I combine the same three sounds, please do not write on screen. Otherwise, the students might get confused, right? If you write on screen like this, let's see whether I can erase them. All right. Please avoid writing on the screen. Okay, so if I combine the same three sounds in another way, then you will never understand what I mean. Okay. So that's why we say these three sounds are combine following phonological rules. And also, similarly, we have morphological rules, rules at the word formation level. Morphology means word formation. So we can't create words as we wish. There are rules to follow. Usually we add prefixes to the beginning of a root and we attach suffixes to the end of a rule. Okay? Normally we do not attach suffixes to the beginning or prefixes to the end. Then we are violating the morphological rules. So at the word formation level, there are morphological rules to follow. And what do you think about the sentence formation? At the sentence formation level, also we have rules to follow. Now that already you know, now if you are quite familiar with English grammar, for example, from English language, English grammar, there are grammar rules now. So what do we mean by usually these grammar rules? These sentence formation rules or syntactic rules. We call them syntactic rules. Okay. So at the sentence formation level also, then we have rules, which means we know there are some patterns, sentence patterns. The subject is there, then the verb is there, then object or adverbial or complement or something. And when you think about the subject and verb combination, there is a basic rule in English, subject and verb combination, sorry, subject and verb agreement. What do you mean by that? We put the verb according to the subject, according to the number of the subject, according to the person of the subject, and also according to the tense and aspect of the whole sentence. So that is what you mean by subject-verb agreement. So that is one of the basic grammar rules or one of the basic syntactic rules. These rules are related to sentence formation, syntactic rules. And we have semantic rules also, talking about assigning meaning to words or sentences. So therefore, what I wanted to tell you is this. At every level, at every component, there are rules to follow. Okay, in any language. Now I have already sent this PDF. So can somebody who has this, please share this in your group? Okay, or send it to the WhatsApp because once I have sent it, and then please take it from your batchmate, okay? Because constantly I can't go back and keep on uploading the PDF. I have already sent it to this, right? Okay. Okay, so hope you got my point. I was telling that there are rules at every level. At the word level, sound level, uh, meaning level, sentence level, there are rules to follow. So if we do not follow them, if we violate them, then the language will not function. Language means this overall system will not function properly. Okay, right. So that's why we say any language is by nature rule governed. Any language by nature is rule governed. So when we are talking about this rule governed nature, there are some terms, actually concepts you need to be familiar with. One concept is grammatical competence. We are talking about rules now. Rules means, in other words, grammar here. So grammatical competence. Are you familiar with this word? Grammatical competence, and there's another term, performance also. But before we familiar with the word grammatical, what is grammatical competence? This one. The idea is there. Grammatical competence means underlying system of a language, which is a part of the internalized grammar of a speaker. Simply, it's like this, okay? If you think that you have grammatical competence of any language, that means you know the system of that language or underlying system of that language, which means, in other words, you know how that language functions at the sound level, at the word level, at the sentence level, at the meaning level. You have an idea how that particular language works or functions, which means you know the rules of that language. If you know the rules of that language, you can say you have the grammatical competence. So grammatical competence it refers to the underlying system of a language. This is the idea. Underlying system, and that is considered to be a part of the internalized grammar of a speaker. Now, speaker, we all are speakers of any language now. If we talk about the English language here, for example, okay, let's assume we all speak in English. Then, if you say you have the grammatical competence of the English language, what do you mean by that? You have some sort of idea regarding how the English language functions, the structures of the English language or the rules of the English language. And this knowledge is there within your mind, or let's say within your brain. Okay, it's internalized. It's there within you, and that is why you are capable of speaking in English correctly and writing in English correctly. If you say that you can produce language, English language, orally or in writing correctly, that means you have internalized English grammar in your brain. So that is your grammatical competence. Okay? In other words, I can say it like this. Your knowledge of grammar. Grammatical competence means any speaker's knowledge of grammar of a particular language. Okay? Did you get that idea about this grammatical competence? Is that clear? Okay, right. So then whenever we talk about the word competence, there's another word, performance. You can find it in the next point, right? Grammatical competence versus performance. Now we have this thing. Now performance, what do you mean by this? These are two opposite terms actually, opposite. That is why you can find versus here. Competence versus performance. Now, you have some idea regarding what competence is. Competence is something which is there within us, within our brain. That is our knowledge of grammar rules, what we know. Okay? In simple terms, what we know. But when you talk about performance, that is how you use language, right? How you produce language. Your knowledge is one thing, right? How you use that knowledge to produce language is another thing. Now, let's say you know the grammar rules, okay? You know the grammar rules of English language. But let's think about a situation where you have to deliver a speech in English. Let's say impromptu speech. You have to deliver an impromptu speech in the English language. So then, now let's say you have very good grammar knowledge, okay? I'm not telling 100%. None of us has 100% grammar knowledge. We can't say so now because English is not our mother tongue. Okay, there may be certain issues, but roughly we'll say we have very good grammar knowledge, right? We know the English grammar quite well, fairly well. But when you are going to deliver an impromptu speech, I have a question now. Do you do mistakes or not? Will there be mistakes or not? Impromptu speech in English. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Any different answer? Any different answer? No. Yes, there are mistakes. There can be mistakes, right? Now, 100% we can't guarantee there won't be any mistake, although we know English grammar, right? Although we have fairly a good knowledge of English grammar, when we want to deliver an impromptu speech, there may be mistakes. So what do you mean by delivering a speech? That is an example of performance. Okay, we can perform or we can produce language in so many ways. We can orally perform by delivering speeches, by taking part in role plays or conversations, right, etc. And in writing, we can produce language by writing a lot of things, reports, essays, email messages, etc. So in either way, we produce language. No, performance means that. Here the point is, although we have a good knowledge of the English grammar rules, when we produce it in writing or orally, we may make mistakes. Which means, what do you understand? Competence and performance, do you think are equal? Can we write like this? Competence and performance like this. Do you think so? Can. Which means competence equals to performance.
Can't, madam. We can't.
Sorry, can't. Yeah. Yes, we can't say so. All the time, our competence is not equal to our performance, which means whatever, everything we know is not reflected in our writing or in our speaking. Although we have very good knowledge of grammar, when we are going to perform is produce, right? The language, we might make mistakes due to so many reasons. Okay, due to so many reasons, maybe there are reasons behind the mistakes. When we produce language, one reason may be excite. The speaker may be excited. And there may be slips of the tongue. Okay. And there may be memory issues, forgetting the things. What else?
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, yeah. Lack of confidence and nervousness. So there may be a lot of reasons like that. So we make mistakes. But that doesn't say we do not know the knowledge. Sorry, we do not know the grammar rules. No. So you can't say, even if you are a teacher, I'm just telling, right? You may, if you are a teacher teaching to some students, don't jump into quick conclusions that your students do not have the knowledge of the grammar rule simply by observing some mistakes they make. Mistakes can happen anywhere by anyone, but it doesn't reflect the exact grammar knowledge that person has. So we can't say competence and performance are equal, right? Grammatical competence is complete and perfect, right? Complete and perfect, but performance may be incomplete and imperfect due to so many reasons, as I was telling to you. Okay, right? So when you are thorough, or when you get to know, or when you talk about the rule governed nature of language, be familiar with that idea as well. Right? Rule governed means knowing the rules. Any language has rules. Any language functions in a system. So for that, rules are supporting, right? Rules at any level or any component help for the language to function as a system. Then knowing these rules is what you mean by competence, grammatical competence. But when you talk about using the rules to produce language, it may not happen successfully. There may be some issues in using the rules in producing orally or in writing the language. Okay, that's what I was discussing here. Yeah. So when we are talking about the rule governed nature of language, here you have this idea. What about this? The rules of language act as a kind of constraint on what is possible in a language. Constraint, which means these grammar rules are limiting us. Okay, limiting our freedom in using the language as we wish. So we can't handle the language as we want, no? Because of these rules. That is why here we say they are kind of constraints. Now there are examples. To understand this in a better way, now you have this paragraph, but there are several different points inside this paragraph, right? Okay, here is the first one. In the area of syntax, now you know by now what syntax is. Syntax means studying the sentence formation. Sentence formation. Then in syntax we have rules. They are called syntactic rules or grammar rules. Then in the area of syntax, the rules of English permit, I like soap operas. This kind of sentences are okay now. I can say, I like soap operas. Subject, verb, object. Or even I can say soap operas I like. By shifting the object to the beginning of the sentence, you can first say soap operas I like. That is also fine, right? But not like soap operas I. This kind of constructions. These kind of constructions are not permitted because they don't make any sense. They are ungrammatical. So we can't arrange words as we want. We have to follow syntax rules. Even the first pattern or the second pattern, not any other pattern. Okay, right. And when we talk about word formation level, that means morphology level, that is the second example. Why now we are talking that rules are constraints. At the word formation level, you have this word overnight. Overnight, that is clear word, okay? It means overnight is a possible verb expressing a length of time. Like here in this sentence, can you find where overnight is? The climbers overnighted on a rock ledge. Can you understand that? Overnight usually we use as an adverb, right? Like this, I was awakened overnight. You can't this overnight. Like that, overnight we use as an adverb as well as a verb. Like in this sentence, the climbers overnighted on a rock ledge. What is the meaning of overnighted? Is the meaning clear? Because in order to understand the example, you have to clearly understand the usage of the word overnight here as a verb. The meaning, is that clear? Overnighted means the climbers, those who climb, they are the climbers, spent the whole night on a rock ledge. That's what you mean by overnighted, on a rock ledge. That is okay. Okay. In English, when we talk about the word, the usage of the word overnight, like overnighted in the past form, this is okay. Correct. And similarly, we have another word, midnight, in English. Midnight. But can you use midnight just like how you use overnighting? Because it also has the word night, no? But it expresses point in time, right? Overnight, it talks about duration of time. Midnight talks about particular point in time. In the middle of the night. That's the meaning of midnight, no? In the middle of the night. But in this sentence, the revealers midnighted in the streets. Can you say so? Midnighted in the streets? It doesn't make any sense. This sentence is wrong. Wrong means the word midnighted doesn't have any meaning there. But the thing is, both words have the word night. But we can't use. Okay. So there are constraints. If you are not fully aware of the word formation and their meanings, right? How particular types of suffixes are used to make sense, what their meanings are. If you are not aware of this aspect, of course, you might make this kind of mistakes. So that are ungrammatical or nonsensical. That is another way we can understand how rules, grammar rules function as constraints. Okay, and you have another example from phonological rules. Phonological rules are related to sounds, right? Now there, the last part I'm talking about, the phonological rules of English would permit the word crack, though it does not exist, right? But would not generate the word. Can you say so? Can you say this? PSABR. Can anyone of you please pronounce this one? that I'm circling now? Can you please? Here.
Table.
Yes. Any other attempt? Any other one? No, you don't want to try the word I have circled. Only one student tried it. How about the others? You are not interested. Even if you are interested, the problem is it's difficult. Difficult means this kind of sound combination is not available in the English language. That's the thing. Okay, you can try and do the pronunciation, but the thing is, this kind of combination is not permitted. Compared to that, think about this one, PRACE, this one, which is easier to pronounce. First combination or second combination? Easier to pronounce?
First one, madam.
Exactly. First one, now, such a word doesn't exist in English language, but still that kind of word combination is quite easy, no? We feel comfortable. We can say prac or press, anything like that, because we have the consonant, then another consonant, vowel, and another consonant like that. There's a vowel in the beginning, sorry, in the middle. But when you look at the second combination, you have two consonants, vowel, again two consonants, still quite similar to the first pattern, but this kind of sounds is quite difficult to be pronounced. So this kind of words we do not find in English. So you can't, simple idea is, you can't find sounds or letters as you want and put them together and combine and produce words. No, it's not possible. There are rules. There are phonological rules also to follow. So the second one doesn't follow any phonological rule, and that's why it's difficult for us to pronounce, and that is why such a combination is not exist in English. Whereas first combination is quite practical. We can say, we have more examples. Now, again, this is from morphological rules. Now, we are continuing with the example prac, right? P-R-A-C-E. If prac were a verb, right? The past tense would be pract, adding ed, pronounced with the final ter sound, not the d or ed sound that is found in other past tense forms. But if prac were a noun, the plural would be presses, pronounced with the final s sound, not the s or z that is found in other plural forms. Now, just go through this part and see whether you got some idea regarding this point. If there was a word called prac in English, actually there's no word like that in English, right? If we can find such a word, then if you consider it as a verb, okay, how do you make the past form? We simply add ed now, okay? We add ed. Then still it will be pronounced like pract, pract. The final sound is t, not d or ud, or ud, right? There is a constraint there because we can't produce final d sound at the end of any past tense verb we like. There are past tense verbs that end with d sound, id sound, and ut sound. T. So practice something like that. We can't pronounce d when we form the past tense of pract. Automatically it will be t. That is one constraint. And the other example, if pract were a noun, then how do we form the plural? By adding, yes, pronounce with the final s sound. Is like presses. Phrases. It's like this. Not s or z. Not these two sounds. So even if you want to produce phrases, the plural form, by using s or z, you can't. It will be is, like phrases. This latter part. It's like that. Okay, so the final idea is this. When we produce, or we say when we pronounce some words in English, verbs or nouns or any other category, there are particular ways of pronouncing them. There are phonological rules, not only the phonological, morphological rules, syntactic rules. Okay, at every level there are rules. So we have to adhere to these rules. We can't change them. If anybody changes these rules, then what will happen? That person might be able to change any rule and use the language as he or she wants. But the problem is the others will not recognize him. Whatever he says will not be understood by his listeners. Further, he will not be accepted as a person who uses comprehensible formal language. So these are the outcomes. So therefore, always we have to adhere to the rules, although they act as a kind of constraint. Right? So because of these rules, we can't use language freely. That constraint is there. That's what so far I was discussing with reference to some rules in relation to different components, right? Okay. So then we have this idea next. This is another topic talking about language universals, innateness and creativity. This is another aspect, of course. Another property of language. We are talking about the nature of language now. One nature is language is rule governed. And this is another nature. There we call about or talk about language universals, innateness, and creativity. This aspect. So you need to be a little bit familiar with this idea. Now, what do you think about this language universals? Language universals. That is one common, of course, I can call it a concept. Common concept talking about language, right? This is in a way related to grammar. Earlier, we were talking about grammar under rule governed nature. When we talk about language universals, there also we have to refer to this grammar part. First, understand what you mean by language universals. They are the features of language, which are not language specific. Okay, they are common to languages in general. This is the idea. So we find language universals in any language in the world. Like, for example, Sinhala, Tamil, English, let's say, these are the three languages that are familiar to us now within the Sri Lankan context. So, although these are overtly three different languages, there are some commonalities among these three languages. Actually speaking, not only among these three languages, there are so many languages used in the world. So there are some common features shared by all these languages in the world. There are some common features. They are the ones that are called language universals. Okay, language universals. At the superficial level, languages are different. But at the underlying level, there are some similar things, as we mean by language universal. So in this discussion, we have these two important terms, principles and parameters. Right? These two terms are quite important. You need to be familiar with them. Talking about language universals, right? Principles and parameters. Just like in the previous part, we were talking about competence and performance. Here you have principles and parameters. What do you mean by these two? I have given the ideas in brief here in these 2 points. Principles. They are the shared elements of language. Shared elements. If you are talking about two languages, okay, two different languages, still there may be some features that are common in both languages. These common elements or shared elements or universals we call principles, right? Then what do you mean by parameters? They are the differences that are displayed in their syntax. Syntax means sentence formation. At the sentence formation, one language is different from another language. They are called parameters, differences. Similarities, principles, differences, parameters. Okay, so we'll try to understand it with an example. There is a set of examples here. Okay. Okay, shall I give you 1 or 2 minutes? Because rather than I am just introducing this example, you please go through this only once, right? Go through this only once and just try to catch the idea. Then after that, we'll talk about it. I'll explain. Okay. Right. Uh, Here we have an example from 3 languages, right? So may I know whether you went through this? This example, is this clear? Can you understand the principles and parameters? The difference with this example. Selvandi?
Madam, actually, this is somewhat difficult to understand. If you can explain the
Sure,
example
sure.
using
Yeah.
English and Sinhala, it is better, I think, to understand.
Uh-huh. You mean, what do you mean by that, Selvandi? I mean, you want me to talk in Sinhala?
No, madam.
Uh-huh.
If you can explain the example using English language and Sinhala language.
Uh-huh. Okay. Right, we'll see, yeah? Right.
Okay.
Okay, so what about the others? Only Sevand is actively participating in the discussion. I don't hear from the others.
The problem is German and Spanish, we don't know, madam,
Okay. I
language.
will explain.
So,
Okay,
we
we'll
couldn't identify the subject object that
right,
SVF form.
fine, we'll see.
Okay.
Even now, just don't bother. You don't have to know German and Spanish, okay? Right? Now, this is just an example. Okay, we'll see. Right. Now here, what do we say? Okay, I'll just refer to the lines first. In the syntax of all languages, a sentence has a subject, right? Okay, irrespective of what the language is, right? There is a subject in any sentence. That's the idea here. Now, just think about your mother tongue, Sinhala or Tamil and English. Any language, we can find sentences, no? So, in these sentences, we definitely find a subject. So, that is a principle. Okay, because principle means, this earlier I told you, shared elements of language. Shared elements, things that we can find in common among many languages. They are the principles. So, having a subject in a sentence is a principle, right? I think that point is clear to you. However, not all languages express this language universal in the same way. Although every language is supposed to have a subject in their sentences, in some languages, we do not find subject in their sentences. In some languages like English and German, subject must be overtly expressed, whereas in others like Japanese and Chinese, it is generally omitted. And in yet other languages like Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, pronoun subjects tend to be omitted. Now, can you see? There are three different ways where subject of a sentence is used. One way is subject must be overtly expressed. Overtly means explicitly. We can see the subject. Example languages are English and German. Okay. And another situation, the subject is omitted, like in Japanese and Chinese. And the third way of using subject is what? Pronoun subjects tend to be omitted. Other subjects are used, but when there is a pronoun in the subject position, it is omitted. Usually that happens in Spanish and Italian. Now, even without understanding these languages, I hope you can understand what the point is. What do you mean by these three ways then? These three different ways of using subject is what you mean by parameters. Principle is having a subject. A sentence has a subject. But how a sentence has a subject is different from one language to another language. And that is what you mean by parameters. Now you can understand it with some examples here. Look at these sentences. In English, we have this sentence. Lily is going to the beach. It's contracted. Okay, Lily, first of S means is. Lily is going to the beach. Right? Okay. And Lily is the proper noun. Right. And there's a second sentence in English. She. She is a pronoun. She is going to the beach. Okay. That is also fine. It's correct. First pattern and second pattern, fine. What about the third pattern? Subject is missing, going to the beach. What do you mean by the sentence? Can we use such sentences in English? Do you use such sentences in English? Without the subject? Do you?
Spoken we are using.
But not accepted. Not
Written,
accepted as
not
formal.
accept.
Yeah, not formal. In casual conversations, of course, we can say, but not complete, not perfect, so therefore not accepted as correct. So that's wrong. Usually, in English, we use the subject. That's the point. Whether it's a proper noun or pronoun or any other noun, common noun, we use the subject. Now look at German then. The same meaning is expressed in German here, right? Lily gets zum Strand. Of course, I am not good at speaking these languages, but I will just pronounce these words as they are written, right? Lily gets zum Strand. There you can find the subject, right? She gets zum Strand. They are also like she. That is also there, the correct sentence pattern. It is used. And get zum Strand means just like in English, subject is missing, which is not accepted in German too. So in that sense, English and German both look alike. Both are the same, which means both languages use somewhat similar parameters, which means we have to use the subject. Now look at Spanish. In Spanish, third one, Lili va la palabra. So something like that. Then we can find the subject there. Okay? Right? And here, ella va la palabra. What about this? I think this can be somewhat similar to pronouns, right? And that pattern is also accepted. Now look at the third one, va la palabra. What about this? You don't have subject here, right? Subject is not available. But still, that sentence is correct. Here you can find a clear contrast between these first two languages and Spanish. Contrast between English, German and Spanish. Okay, so English and German, they have somewhat similar parameters that are not similar to the parameters of Spanish. Because in Spanish, with subject as well as without subject, they have accepted sentences. But in English and German, without the subject, sentences are not accepted. Okay, right. So that's the idea. Then all these examples are here used for you to understand what principle is and what parameters. So then parameter specifies whether in a given language the subject can be omitted or not according to this parameter. Right? According to the parameter of this example, what does it say? Whether in a given language the subject can be omitted or not. That's the parameter. So talking about English and German, subject cannot be omitted. And in Spanish, subject can be omitted. That's the parameter. So this is only one example for parameters, right? Talking about the use of subject. And you can find a lot more other parameters. Then here we say universal grammar includes both principles and parameters, which together explain the features that all languages share and the syntactic differences which make each language unique. Right? I think these two words are clear to you. Principles and parameters. Now, what do you think about it? Do you want me to again explain this in Sinhala too? The problem is if I use Sinhala, it is unfair by some of you, I think. Yes, there are students whose mother tongue is not Sinhala here. Then it's not. Do you want me to explain this in Sinhala? Just please tell honestly. Oh, example is not yet clear.
Got it, madam. It is clear.
Yeah, okay. Right? So don't bother. You don't have to know these languages, right? German or Spanish. You have to understand what you mean by parameter. That's the important thing. And to understand it, you have this example. That's all. Okay, right. So we'll talk more about this. You have this word. Now, please check your note. I can't now exactly remember whether I have included this question in the note. I can't remember. Never mind. It's there in my screen. right? So there are some statements. You need to read them and decide whether they represent principles or parameters. Now, already you have some idea regarding these two words, no, principles and parameters. Then just write in front, if you have a hard copy of the note, write in front whether it's a statement, each and every statement refers to a principle or a parameter. Or if you are just looking at my screen, take a sheet of paper and write ABCD there and write principle or parameter. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes, like around 7 minutes, 5 or 7 minutes. Right? Please, all of you, I want all of you to do this work. Okay, finish. Have you tried all these statements? Are you ready now to share your findings? Or do you want more time? What's happening? Shall we start? First one, in statements, the subject precedes the verb. I hope you can understand what it says, right? Subject precedes the verb means subject comes before the verb. When we create a statement, not a question, right? Statement. Is this a principle or a parameter? You can simply think about the languages known to you, Sinhala, Tamil or English, right? Think about these languages. You don't have to know the other languages in the world. Yes. Silence means still you have not done this, or not clear or difficult. Oh, what's the reason? Can somebody update me regarding what's happening? Say one thing.
So principle.
Yeah. Subject precedes the verb means subject comes before the verb.
Principles.
Principle or
Rules.
parameter. Every language, do you find it to be the same, or from language to language, does it change?
From language to language, does it change?
That
Change.
means
There's
principle or
some
parameter.
language
Parameter.
That's
parameter.
parameter, right? Correct. And next one, there are question words that request information about who, what, when, like that. Question words that are used to request information like who, what, when. Usually, when we use these question words, they are used to request information. That's the idea. Now, these words, who, what, when, can differ from language to language, but consider this idea, okay? We are not talking about these particular words. We are talking about this idea, this fact. Is this a principle or a parameter?
Principle.
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 Correct. Fine.
Principle.
Yes. Next one, there exists a system for negation. Negation means expressing no, right? Expressing no. So there exists a system of negation. What about that?
Parameter.
How about the others? Now here we don't say what the system is, right? What type of a system is not mentioned here. We say there exists a system for negation. Then parameter. Yeah. Parameter means, remember, it changes, right? From language to language, it changes. So do you find this? Yes.
Is a principle.
Yes, it's a principle. So
Principles.
existing of a system.
Yeah.
Every language there is a system to express
System.
negation. So that's a principle. Okay, not a parameter. That system can vary from language to language. But here we do not talk about a variation. We just say there is a system. Okay, C is a principle. And the questions are formed by inverting the subject and verb. Inverting, shifting, changing. Yes,
Parameter.
that is a parameter. Correct. D, parameter.
Parameter.
And E, a sentence contains a subject, though it may not be overtly expressed. Sentence contains a subject, right? Though it may not be overtly expressed. Sometimes the subject may be overtly or explicitly expressed. Sometimes it may not be expressed. The point is, sentence contains a subject. This is where the point is. Here, in this part. This part. So, what is the idea? Principle or parameter?
Principles.
That's the principle. Okay, right. Then F, adjectives precede the noun that they modify.
Principles.
Adjectives
Parameters.
precede the noun. Precede means occurring before. No? So all the time, do we find adjectives come before the noun they modify? Every language. All the
Yes.
time.
Parameter.
That's a parameter. Sometimes we find adjectives after the noun also. In English itself, we can find in predicative adjectives. So F is a parameter. And G, the basic word order of a sentence is subject, verb, object. Say SU means subject, right? It is SVO. Subject, verb, object. Basic word order. What do you think about G? Yes?
Parameter.
Parameter.
Yes, all the time we
SVO.
don't find SVO pattern. SVO we find in English, right? In Sinhala, what do we have? SOV. What about Tamil?
PSO.
Tamil?
Same SOV.
SOV, just like Sinhala.
Yes.
But in English, we have SVO. So G is a parameter. Okay, right. Then H, in statements, the subject must be overtly expressed. Must. Now, this is the idea. Okay, you have to pay your attention to this part. The subject must be overtly expressed. What about that idea?
Parameter.
It is a parameter.
Parameter.
Every language, we don't find it to be the same. We had that early example also, no? Right. Then tense is indicated by adverbials.
Parameter.
That's a
Parameter.
parameter because every language we don't express the tense with the adverbials. In English, we can express tense with the verb phrase, right? So it changes from language to language. I is a parameter. Next one, J. Nouns refer to people, places, things.
Principle.
Every language. Yes, every language we use nouns to refer to these things. People, place, or things. That's a principle. Fine. Last one. There is a means of expressing number. Means. What the means is not specified here, okay? The idea is there is a means of expressing number. What about that?
Principle.
Correct. Last one is also a principle. Right. So I think then you are clear of the difference between principles and parameters. Right? If you want, you have these answers also. Later on, if you want to check, you can get a photo or a screenshot. Okay, right. I'll move on to the next discussion. Now we are talking about the nature of language, no? Right. So I was talking about this universal language universals. Language universals means, in other words, principles, which means the things or the features that are common to any language. And at the same time, you need to know about the word parameters. That means the things by which languages differ from other languages, right? The differences among languages, they are parameters, right? Okay. So then we are coming to related to that another point. Language is innate. How about this? We say language is human language. Actually, here we talk about human language, right? So we say language is innate. People are born with an inborn capability. Inborn capability for language acquisition. This line is important. If you have a hard copy, you can mark this, right? And are genetically equipped to learn a language. The whole sentence is actually important. Now I have a question, right? When we are born to this world, are we born with the language? Now you have a mother tongue or either Sinhala or Tamil, right? So when you are born, do you come with either Sinhala or Tamil? That means, do you come with your mother tongue or not? Yes or no? Hmm?
No, ma'am.
No, no, ma'am.
I heard yes also. Yeah. Then how do you get that mother tongue? Your mother tongue or our native language? How do you get it then?
From
If you are
environment,
hmm?
from the environment where we are born.
That's the point, right? We are not born with a specific language, right? We are not born with a specific language, but we are born with something. And that something is this inborn capacity. There is an inborn capacity within us, within the human beings. What sort of a capacity is that? For language acquisition. To acquire or to learn a language, we have an ability. We are born with that ability. Okay. So we are genetically equipped to learn a language, not with a particular language, but with an ability to learn a language, we are born. And that ability is called LAD. This is introduced or founded by Noam Chomsky. Okay, when he was introducing his theory of language acquisition, innateness. That is the theory he founded, right? According to that, the argument of that theory, he says, human beings are born to this world with an ability to acquire any language. Right? Any language that is there in the environment of that infant. Accordingly, the infant will acquire his or her mother tongue. So this inborn ability for language acquisition is called LAD, that is language acquisition device. So when you talk about this point, language is innate, remember we are talking about LAD. That is what you mean by language is innate. That means people are born with an inborn ability, right? A child acquiring a language is innately equipped with both principles and parameters. So relate this to what we discussed previously, talking about principles and parameters. So when a child is acquiring language, right? A child acquiring a language is innately equipped with both these things. Principles and parameters are there, but the parameters become set as language learning progresses. Capacity differs from person to person. Yes, Hima, you are correct, right? This LAD, function of LAD can vary from person to person, but the main point is every human being is born with LAD. According to its function, we have, of course, different people like now, you know about slow learners, right? Differently abled learners or people, and there are students with special needs. At the same time, there are gifted students. Likewise, there are different types of learners available apart from the average learners, right? So their LAD function differently. So this capacity can vary from even among the average students, this LAD can vary. So that's why if you just think about a classroom where there are 40 students, you don't find all the 40 students to be learning the English language similarly. Do you ever find like that? No. Because their capacity to acquire language or learn language is different from each other. Okay, so that's yes. Your answer to your question is yes. Okay, so here if I come back to this point, usually a child has both principles and parameters. But these parameters become set means fixed as the child acquires the language. These parameters become clearer and fixed. Until that, just the principles and parameters exist. Okay, especially parameters become clearer, become fixed when the language learning process continues. That's the idea. Okay, right. And there's another aspect of the nature of language. We identify it as creativity. We say language is creative. There's another word, productivity. So creative or productive, both words are same, right? Either we can say creativity of language or productivity of language. Now, what do you mean by this? Creativity in language has two aspects. One is human beings can produce and understand novel sentences and new words. Novel means new. So human beings, we people, can produce as well as understand new sentences, even new words. I can create new sentences, right? And we can create new words also. With the time being, they will be accepted by the others and will be added to the vocabulary of the language also, right? And there's another aspect of creativity. We can create sentences of infinite length, theoretically, although there are obvious practical limits on length, right? This is the point. We can create sentences of infinite length. Infinite length means length of our sentences is not limited. Because if we, according to the meaning we want to convey, right, we can attach so many phrases, so many clauses, and expand our sentences. There is no limit, right? Unlimitedly, we can attach phrases and clauses and lengthen the sentences. So that is another aspect of creativity. We can do it theoretically, but practically we don't do so. Because then it will be really difficult for our listeners to understand us if we do so. But theoretically, we can lengthen our sentences. We can lengthen. So, like in the nursery rhyme, you know this. This is the dog that worried the cat that killed the rat that ate the mouse that lay in the house that Jack built. Something like this. So, if you want, you can continue this further also. See? Can become quite lengthy. So there are clauses have been attached with the conjunction that. All are relative clauses, right? So this possibility is there, like this, lengthening sentences. So remember then creativity, when we talk about the creativity of language, we can find it in two ways, right? One way is humans, right? Humans can produce new words and new sentences, and also they can create sentences of infinite length, unlimited length. That is the creative nature of language. Human beings, we say, right? In human language, we have this feature. Animal languages do not have. Now we are coming to the discussion of animal communication codes. Right? Animal communication codes. Here, codes means languages, okay? Here, in other words, animal communication codes means animal communication systems. Or in simple terms, I can say animal language. If you do not confuse. Because usually the word language we use to refer to human languages. You can say English language, Tamil language, Sinhala language, French language likewise. But usually we do not associate the word language to talk about animals, communication systems. All right, and that is why here you have animal communication codes. The word codes is used with the meaning of language. There are some characteristics of animal communication codes here listed. can you see whether you can understand them? I don't know whether you have ever tried to talk with animals, but have you ever seen animals communicating? Have you seen animals communicating? Not with you, I mean, among animals. Yes or no? No idea about how they are talking. Mhm. Yes.
Making sound, some
Yeah.
sort of sounds.
Mm. They do not utter words like human beings. They issue sounds. Yeah. And yes, what is this? Cats arguing. Hima, is that what you say here? Cats arguing.
Yes, ma'am, sometimes.
May I know how? Yeah? How?
When there are pet cats, sometimes they argue over some but snacks or
Ah.
something
Do
like
you mean arguing or demanding?
that.
Are they demanding or arguing?
Not with us. It's between two pets.
Right. Okay, I got it now. Got your point now. Yeah, of course. Arguing and not simply arguing, right?
Fighting something.
Fighting, and probably they may be uttering bad words too, I hope. In their language, definitely, right? We can't understand what they say. No, definitely they must be using filthy words and that kind of things. During midnight, we can hear, right? Right. I got your point. Well, yes. Animals have their own specific ways of communicating. That's the thing among animals. But the thing is, their communication patterns are not similar to our communication patterns. That's the thing. And here you can find some characteristics of their communication patterns, right? So we'll have a look at them one by one. First one, most animal languages are indexical. Now, by now you have some idea regarding these indexical, iconic and symbolic signs. Okay, we discussed them only during the previous session. Hope you still remember them. Here we say most animal languages are indexical, and I mean based on particular directions, right? And stimulus bound, depending on the necessary presence of concrete stimuli. You know what stimulus is? You have any idea regarding that word? Stimulus means, in Sinhala we have a word, uttejakaya, but in Tamil, of course, I do not know what the word is. Stimulus is something which you use to arouse the feelings of another one. Arouse the feelings or ideas, or like motivating another person to do something or think something. Whatever you do, it's a stimulus. Okay. So animals, they communicate when there is a stimulus. You can very well understand it with your cats at home, no? Right? When you try to open the can, cat food can, what do you think they do? They might be dead sleepy, right? Might be falling asleep, but when you open the can, what do they do? Stimulus is the sound of opening the cat food can. Stimulus. What do you think they will do? I mean, you don't have to open the cat food fan, right? You just try to open a biscuit cover or something. They will rush to you now, running.
Yes.
Mm,
Running.
yeah.
Next moment they are near us.
Yeah. And they do not just simply run and then stop the whole thing there, right? Until you give him whatever food, they will non-stop ask for food. So that is their communication. And their communication is totally dependent on the stimulus you provide there. Don't you think so? Stimulus is your food or just the sound of the food. So usually we are taking animals as animals, cats here, because cats are quite common for us, right? They are domestic animals. Even you can relate these points to the other animals too, right? Not only the cats, whatever an animal, mostly their languages are indexical and bound to the stimulus. Right? Their reactions, their communications are based on the level of the stimulus you provide. That's it. Okay, have you seen some, I mean, especially here, we don't have to talk about animal and human languages, right? How animals and humans are communicating, even among animals. They communicate based on a particular stimulus. Right. The topic of conversation must be present in the immediate environment and it cannot be displayed in time or space. So this is another characteristic of animal communication patterns. The topic of conversation, don't confuse now, right? Just don't think that animals are talking about or they are conversing about based on topics. So whatever they are sharing about must be present in the immediate environment and it cannot be displayed in time or space. But this feature is not available in the human languages. Okay, I will talk about the human languages and then you can clearly understand this point, right? In relation to animal languages. Now, we people, right? We human beings can use any language to talk about the things that happen in the past, in the future, as well as in the present. Now, what do we do? I'm talking with you all, right? I'm talking about what is happening now, let's say. So we use language to talk about the present things at present. Similarly, I can talk about our previous lecture, right? It happened around a week ago, nearly a week ago. So that is something belonging to the past. And I can talk about our next lecture. So that belongs to the future. So we human beings can use language to talk about our past, present, and future. Do you think animals can do so? Yes or no?
No.
No, never. They can't communicate their feelings or whatever related to the past or future. Their communication is limited to the present time only. But there are exceptions, okay? Now don't confuse. That is the general pattern. There are exceptions. What do you think about this? What do you call intuition? Intuition, there is a word called intuition. Intution. Intuition. Have you heard about it? What is that? There's a nice word, very short word for intuition in Sinhala. Usually human beings do not have intuition. There are some gifted human beings who have intuition, but the average human beings do not have this normally. But animals have.
Mind reading.
Mind reading, not that exactly. Not mind reading. Intuition. Now, do you know anything about tsunami? Have you heard about tsunami that came here in 2004? I think you know about it, right?
Yes, yes. Some snakes came out from the
Ah,
sea. Oh, yeah.
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 During
Some
tsunami.
animals came out from the
Mhm.
ocean seas.
Yes, yes. And
They understood that.
yes, in coastal areas, animals were, it is said that, I didn't see with my eyes, of course. Now, it is said that animals were running to the country, right? In the coastal areas, animals were running inside the country, let's say, to the country. Whereas human beings, what did they do? Now, before tsunami waves came, the like the sea went back. No, you must have seen some videos of tsunami before the huge tsunami waves come. the sea went back. In the sense, there was a land created in the sea. So the normal waves went back, right? So people thought, okay, they can claim new land. They were running to the sea to see what happened soon before the tsunami waves come, right? So see the contradiction between the reactions of humans and animals there. Animals could know first, right, beforehand about the disaster. But human beings couldn't know. How did the animals know? Because of their intuition. In Sinhala, we have the word iva. Now, whose mother tongue is Sinhala, know the word, right? Iva, you know about iva? Iva or intuition is an ability, kind of ability where we can get to know something beforehand. That we sense about the things that can happen in future. Something like that. So these animals had the intuition, so they communicated it among the others and they were trying to escape from the disaster. They took an action. That's what happened. So there, of course, that is a kind of exceptional situation for this point. Because usually or generally we say animal communication is limited to the present time. Huh? That is the general view. I just told to you an exception only. Example for an exception. But generally, animals, their communication is limited to the present time. And there's another part here. Animal communication is limited to the immediate space only, immediate surrounding. Okay? They can't be communicating about the things that are far from them. Their communication is totally limited to the immediate surrounding. Things around them. But we human beings can use language and talk about the things that are in the immediate surrounding as well as about the things that are there in quite in the distant places, right? We can talk about the things that happen in USA now, right? We can talk about the things that can happen in Australia or Africa with the help of the internet, right? We can get to know and talk about them. Even we can talk about the things that can happen in another planet. Can't we? We can. But do you think animals have that ability? No. Whenever two or more animals come into contact, right, their communication is quite limited to the things around them only. That is what we mean by the second point. So this is a characteristic which is common to the animal communications only. You don't find this in human communication. When we talk about the characteristics of human language, this characteristic is called displacement. Okay, displacement. We say displacement is available in human language. Displacement is not available in animal language. Right, okay. The third one, iconic and natural. That means animal communication codes are iconic and natural, but not symbolic. You know what iconic and indexical? Their communication patterns are either iconic or indexical, right? But not symbolic. Whereas human beings, their languages, their signs can be all the three, indexical, iconic, as well as symbolic. Remember, the symbolic nature is not available. They can't, for example, animals can't show a sign and mean something else. Symbols are like that. No, symbol is something which conveys another idea. Symbols represent another idea. But animals can't use such signs. They don't have symbols. Their signs are always iconic and also indexical. Right? Okay. And this is another, next point carries another characteristic of animal communication codes. Their codes are finite. Finite means fixed or limited, not infinite or creative. Right. So earlier we talked about creativity of language, creativity of productivity. That is only in relation to the human language, right? Whereas animal languages are finite, limited. They have limited number of utterances or limited number of sound sets. There is a closed repertoire of utterances. Closed means not open. In the sense, new expressions, they can't add to their vocabulary. Of course, we can't use the word vocabulary to talk about animal communication code. So whatever the sounds or expressions they create is quite closed. They don't have the capacity to produce novel utterances. They can't. That is why we say finite, right? And the codes are acquired exclusively through genetic transmission, not learned. Not learned. This is also important point to talk about animal communication codes, right? They are codes, so they are patterns. Their utterances are coming from genes. That means these animals inherit their languages, whereas human beings do not inherit. In other words, I can say animal languages are genetic, whereas human languages are not genetic. They are culturally transmitted. Animal languages are genetic, or else we can say they do not learn languages. Right? Animals do not learn language. You have very good example if you prefer cats, right? Think about newly born kitten, right? Usually, how many days does it take to open the eyes? Anyway, I think 7 to 14 days. Within 1 or 2 weeks, the kitten can open the eyes, right? But I'm talking about it's like meowing. Okay. Now, when a newborn kitten is separated from the mama cat, right? Let's say the mama cat disappears and you have to bring out, you have to adopt the baby, the kitten, right? You feed it with milk and all, and you adopt it, right? So then, without the mama cat, what do you think the baby, the kid, can it say meow or not?
It can.
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 Yes, mama cat doesn't have to be near it now. Even without the mama cat, the newly born kitten can say meow. What does it say? What do you mean by that thing? What's the conclusion? The kitten doesn't have to learn the language from the mama cat. The language comes to the kitten from genes, right? So that is why we say animal languages are genetical. They are genetic transmission. What do you think will happen to a baby, right? Human baby, who is separated from the entire human world. Okay, now there are stories also, like Tarzan and all these things, right? The human baby is brought out by all along, maybe by animals, without the association of any human being. Okay, think about a situation like that. Do you think the human baby can use language?
No.
No, never, right? Because human languages are culturally transmitted, whereas animal languages are genetically transmitted. That's the difference. Human languages are culturally transmitted means humans get language from the society, from the environment, or from the culture. They are learned or acquired. Whereas animals, they do not learn their languages or acquire their languages. Their languages come from the genes, inherent. So that is another big difference, right? Between animal and human languages. Right. Let's see. So what do you think about this? This is another set of properties of animal communication codes. Followings are not possible within animal communication codes. One is using language to refer to abstractions or non-existent entities. Right? Animals can't do these things with their languages. They can't use language to refer to abstractions, means abstract things. Okay, for example, happiness. Right? Happiness is a noun, no? Right? We can use noun happiness, and happiness can you see? I mean, can you touch it? Can you physically touch it or like sense it? No. Happiness is an intangible noun. It's not tangible. It's an abstraction. Okay. The thing is, humans can use languages, right, to refer to such abstract concepts, but animals can't do so. Even humans can use language to refer to things that are not existing, non-existent entities, things that are not existing. Now, what are the things that are not really existing in the world? Have you seen fairies? Fairies, Suranganavi, have you seen? Have you seen dragons? Or Superman or Spider-Man or things, people like that? Yes. Yes. Only in movies, no, not in the real world. But we human beings can use language to talk about all these things. And we can talk about heaven, hell. We have not been there. No? We are not sure whether they are really existing or not. Non-existent things. Still we can talk about them. But the thing is, animals can't use language for these purposes. They can't use their communication codes to refer to intangible things or abstractions, or even to refer to things that are not existing. It's another big difference between animal and human language, right? And another one, using language to reflect about language. Reflect about language itself. We call it meta language or meta-linguistically. Meta language means using language to talk about language. Now, what do we do here? What am I doing here? I am using the English language to talk about the nature of language, drawing examples from the English language. Which means I am using language meta-linguistically. Using language to reflect about language itself. Only human beings can do this, right? Not the animals. Have you ever seen animals to be communicating about their communication codes? No? So these 2 points are relevant to the human language only, not to the animal codes, animal communication codes. So that is why here they too are introduced as not possible. Not possible within animal communication codes, right? Hope you are following what I'm putting here. That's it. That part is over. I was discussing mainly the nature of human language, and during this part, the latter part of the discussion, I referred to the animal communication codes. In the meantime, I was comparing animal communication patterns and human languages. That's what I did now so far. So next we have the next point under the same first topic, the nature of grammar. Before I move on to that, may I know whether you have any doubt or a problem from these areas? Yes or no, something like that? If no issue is there, may I move on to the next topic? I can't hear anything.
Yes, madam.
No
Okay.
doubts, ma'am.
Right.
Yes, madam.
Now we don't have a long time left, but still I would like to move on to the next one, right? It's there in your note. Next, we have the subtopic on the nature of grammar. Here we are going to talk about grammar, right? Grammar of any language. Talking about some of the definitions of grammar and fallacies concerning grammar. You know what fallacies, right? Some misconceptions, some wrong beliefs. Right? First of all, let's start the work with the definitions of grammar. Here, definitions means, here I expect to talk about some concepts, right? Some concepts. Whenever we talk about the word grammar, there are some related terms like this. Grammar as a whole, we have the word grammar, and then we have this term, internalized grammar. Today we talked about it, and we have descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. All these terms are there whenever we talk about grammar of any language, right? Grammar can exist in all these ways, all these different ways. Okay, answers. Sharing questions means still the thing is I have not completed a considerable part. That's the thing, right? So once I complete certain kind of, let's say, one major topic, I'll talk about some questions. Right? Okay, just remind me then. Still, I'm halfway through the first topic, of course, first main topic. The first major area of the module. Once I come to the end of it, I will probably talk about some questions, right? Okay. So now this is about, as I told you, different perspectives or different ways of looking at the word grammar, right? All the time we say grammar and grammar, but grammar can exist in different ways. Grammar as a whole, what do you mean? Rules or principles by which a language works. That means its system or structure. Grammar means that, so that simple idea is there already with you, I hope. Then we have another term, internalized grammar. And today we discussed that also. Earlier I introduced the term to you, grammatical competence. Can you remember? Grammatical competence or competence is what do you mean by internalized grammar? That means whatever the knowledge a person has in his mind regarding the pattern or system or structure of a language is the competence or internalized grammar. In simple words, we say knowledge of grammar, right? Knowledge of grammar. Right. Competence. And then we have descriptive grammar. Formulation of the speaker's grammar in a set of rules. Actually, descriptive grammar is rules, constitutive rules. Set of rules. This is what you mean by descriptive grammar. All right. Then you need to, of course, understand descriptive grammar and prescriptive grammar. They are comparisons. What do you mean by prescriptive grammar? Regulatory rules means establishing and maintaining a standard of correctness in the language. Standard of correctness in the language. This word is important. To prescribe and proscribe certain ways of speaking. Now, I am sure you are familiar with this word, prescriptive. Right now, it's there in our usual day-to-day works. Prescriptions, have you heard doctor prescriptions? Doctors prescribe some medicine. When we feel ill, we visit doctors. Like when we visit the doctor, after checking our symptoms and talking with us, what does he do? He prescribes some medicine, right? He writes in a chit some medicines. What does he do? He prescribe. So we take that prescription to the pharmacy and get the required medicine, the relevant medicine. What do you mean by prescriptions? What does the doctor do there? He asks us to take particular set of medicines to cure our illness. So he wants us to take that medicine. Right? Dictating, prescribe means dictating, telling that you have to take this. Talking about medicine, right? But we have prescriptive grammar here. Prescriptive grammar means there are some grammar rules in any language. We have to follow these rules in order to correctly use the language. We have to follow these rules to maintain a standard of correctness, right? To maintain a standard of correctness, we have to follow the grammar rules. That is what you mean by prescriptive grammar. And at the same time, with the word prescribe, we have proscribed also. Prescribe means dictating, telling to do it. And proscribe means telling not to do it, forbidding. So there are certain rules that ask you not to do certain things, forbidding certain ways of speaking. Not only speaking, right? Certain ways of using the language, either in speaking or writing. So these prescriptions and proscriptions both come in prescriptive grammar. But when we talk about descriptive grammar doesn't tell us you should do this, you should not do this. Nothing like that. Descriptive grammar simply gives us a set of rules. Okay. That's the difference between descriptive and prescriptive grammar. So these two terms are very important when we talk about grammar. And what do you think about these ideas in red color? Constitutive rules constitutive rules means descriptive rules, right? They determine how something works and how something works. And regulatory rules control behavior. Can you understand two aspects? So actually, descriptive and prescriptive grammars are the two ways of presenting grammar in any language. Right? If you say how something works, it is simply descriptive grammar. But if you want to say you should do this, you are controlling the use of language of a person. They are regulatory rules or prescriptive grammar, controlling behavior. Right? Okay, so if the former is violated, that means if we violate descriptive grammar, the thing cannot work. Language cannot work. But if the latter is violated, that means if we violate the prescriptive grammar, the language works. Thing here means whatever the linguistic function, right? The language works, but crudely, awkwardly, or rudely. It would be a little bit odd. The meaning can be conveyed, but it is somewhat odd. That's the difference between descriptive and prescriptive grammar. Now you have this example. Just have a look at this example. Had the dog chased? This is the sentence. This sentence violates constitutive rules, means descriptive grammar. Therefore, this sentence is ungrammatical, right? And what do you think about the second sentence? He did good on the exam. Now, there is a problem there. Although there is a problem as a whole, we can say the sentence is it looks grammatically okay because we can understand it, but unacceptable. Unacceptable because usually we do not use good as an adverb there, right? He did well on the exam. Instead of good, we have to use well. So, but still we can communicate a message, no? We can communicate a message. So then we say, instead of good, you should use well, prescriptive. Related to the prescriptive grammar. First one related to descriptive grammar. The point is, if descriptive grammar is violated, then we produce totally ungrammatical sentences. Grammar is not correct and meaning is also not conveyed. And if we violate prescriptive rules, we may be able to convey the message and still, but the problem is the sentence might look odd. Sometimes little bit ungrammatical too. So that's the difference between descriptive and prescriptive grammar. So therefore, if you have these two sentences in your notes, mark the first one descriptive grammar violation, second one prescriptive grammar violation. Talks about the prescriptive grammar. Okay, right. Well, under definitions, these are the terms you need to know, right? Need to be familiar. Next, we have fallacies concerning grammar. Of course, I do not expect to discuss the fallacies now, as the time is up for me to wind up the discussion. So therefore, let's continue our discussion. I think tomorrow also we are planning to meet, right? So I'll continue with the fallacies and to the next topics the next day and tomorrow. All right? Okay, if you have any problem regarding the areas we discussed today, you can forward them tomorrow. Let's talk about if you have any question. Right then. Okay, so shall I wind up? If you do not have any question now.
Good evening.
Okay, right. Good night, all of you. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
ma'am.
madam.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for
Good
the
night.
good
Thank you,
evening.
ma'am. Good night.